Hey guys, it's the second day of Christmas and let's talk about superheroes. Before I begin, let me explain that this video is actually a response video that I'm doing to a video that I saw from the Schmoes Know. The Schmoes Know are a group of guys who review movies, and I really love their movie reviews. But they put up a video a couple weeks ago where they did a best and worst of recap of superhero movies of 2013. And the list of superhero movies that they covered consisted of Kick-Ass 2, Wolverine, Thor 2, Iron Man 3, and Man of Steel. So that's 5 movies, but I've only seen 4 of those. I've only seen the Wolverine, Man of Steel, Thor 2, and Iron Man 3. I did not see Kick-Ass 2. So throughout this entire thing, I'm just going to talk about those 4 movies. So for the first question that the Schmoes Know asked, they wanted to list the movies in order from worst to best. So at number 4, I'd definitely have to put Man of Steel at number 4. Man of Steel, I was really anticipating it because I love Henry Cavill, and he is Superman. He looks like Superman. But Man of Steel ended up being very disappointing to me. It was just so hectic and chaotic, and the fighting scenes were really blurry, and I couldn't tell what was going on. About the only thing I enjoyed about Man of Steel was the very beginning when they're on Krypton. I could have sat through a 3-hour movie with them just on Krypton. That's how much I love the opening sequence. And Zod was about it too. I really loved the Zod character since he was the villain. He was really scary. And Henry Cavill, it's just they didn't give him much to do. I really felt like I didn't get to know Superman at all. At number 3, I think I'd have to put Iron Man 3. I think I would place it as my favorite out of all 3, maybe? I'm not sure. Robert Downey Jr. was just brilliant as Iron Man once again. I think what Iron Man lacked was just some really good villains, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. Though I did really enjoy Guy Pearce. I'm a Guy Pearce fangirl, so even though he wasn't the world's most fantastic villain, I still really just loved Guy Pearce because I hardly ever get to see him in movies. At number 2, I believe I'm going to go with the Wolverine. I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. I was not expecting to enjoy it very much. I am one of the few people that apparently enjoyed Wolverine Origins, and I really loved X-Men First Class, and the trailers for the Wolverine just weren't doing it for me. I was like, oh, this looks kind of boring and stupid. But like I said, I was pleasantly surprised with how good the Wolverine was, and it was just a very cohesive story and lots of just really different, unique characters and villains. And I liked what they did with Logan, aka Wolverine. I think they really finally did something new and different to his character. And at number 1, you guys, I'm obviously going for Thor 2: The Dark World as my number 1 favorite superhero movie of the year. This movie was just epic on so many levels. If you watched my review of the movie, I know I shared a lot of things that I was upset with and disappointed, but still overall, I really enjoyed the movie and I just love the expansion of that world and those characters. So the next question that the Schmoes Know asked is, who is the greatest hero? And I'm going to start off, guys, that all my answers for these questions, I might have like 2 or 3 answers. I'm having an extremely hard time just narrowing it down. But for best hero, at number 4, I'd probably put Superman, Clark Kent. Number 3, I think I will go with Thor. And then number 2, I'll go with Wolverine. And then number 1, I'll go with Iron Man. Wolverine and Iron Man, those characters are just so brilliantly written. Robert Downey Jr., he is Iron Man. Hugh Jackman, he is Wolverine. They really just encompass these characters so perfectly, and they really understand and know them just front to back, and you can tell in their performances. So I guess for a short answer, for best hero, I guess I'm going with a tie between Wolverine and Iron Man. The next question is the best villain, and I'm probably going to have to go with another tie for this one too, and go with General Zod from Man of Steel and Loki from Thor the Dark World. They are just so awesome. I really love their characters, and their characters kind of have quite a few similarities in some ways, kind of their belief systems, I guess you can say. Obviously, they're not totally 100% exact, but when I was watching Man of Steel, there was just vibes coming off of Zod, and I was like, he's kind of Loki-ish. Maybe that was just me. And yes, I'm saying Loki as a best villain over Malekith, because Malekith, I felt like, if you watched my review, once again, for The Dark World, I felt like Malekith was very underused and kind of non-existent in some ways, and they didn't do much with him, and I was kind of disappointed about that. Whereas Loki, they really expanded upon his character and who he is deep down in his core, and Tom Hiddleston is just Loki, just 100%. And then Michael Shannon as Zod, he was really frightening. I was all intense during his scenes. He was just excellent. The next question that was asked was the worst comedy moment, and I might have to skip this because I'm just kind of sitting here thinking about all 4 movies, and I can't particularly think of a really bad comedy moment. I know some comedy can fall flat at times, but I don't know. I'm generally just someone who, if comedy falls flat, it don't matter. Well, you know what? I'm going to put a spoiler warning right here. When you see the spoiler tag go away, unmute. So for right now, mute, and then when it goes away, unmute. So, a spoiler for Thor the Dark World. Once again, if you watched my review, I was talking about the bad transitioning between some scenes. And one of those moments was when Loki died, and Thor and Jane went off into a cave, and then all of a sudden we got some comedy just out of nowhere, and it's like, Thor should be grieving. I wanted Thor to grieve for Loki, you guys. And instead the story just merges off into this quick progression of comedy, and they're like, hey, there's shoes in here, there's keys, who's Richard? Which is Jane's kind of boyfriend. And then they go through the little portal, and then we got all that comedy when Thor and Jane are back on Earth in London, and Thor hangs up his hammer on like the little hook, and that's funny. And then Dr. Selvig is like, "Where's your brother?" And then Thor's like, "He's dead." And it's kind of serious. And then Dr. Selvig's like, "Oh, thank God!" And then it's like there's that comedy there. So I guess I'd have to kind of say after Loki dies, and then those couple scenes after Loki dies, probably really bad comedy moments, I'd have to say. So the next question, the funniest comedic moment. Oh Lord, I think I'll have a hard time with this one too. Can I just go with all of Iron Man 3? I mean, Robert Downey Jr., he's just so hilarious. And the comedy in Iron Man 3 just really goes together. Sometimes in a movie, too much comedy can kind of ruin a movie and it's too much. But in Iron Man 3, it really it all flows together so perfectly because of who Tony Stark is and how Robert Downey Jr. just delivers those brilliant lines. So I kind of just want to say the entirety of Iron Man 3 just had some really great comedic moments. Though I do have to point out Thor again. I'll put another spoiler tag right here. Mute when you see the spoiler warning go away. The great cameo by Chris Evans. Just that whole scene in general with Loki shapeshifting into all sorts of people, and then changing Thor into Sif, and then Captain America's brilliant cameo. That was just a really great scene, so yeah. The next question, best character who is not a leading character, aka a supporting actor. Good lord, I feel like I'm answering Thor for every single one of these questions. Well, you guys know now why Thor is my #1 movie, but still, I'm trying to think of some variety. But I'd have to go with, for supporting actor, Idris Elba, I think. Idris Elba is just a very commanding presence on any screen, whether that be movies or television. He's just very commanding, and you're drawn into any scene he's in. And I loved the development of Heimdall in Thor. And just, there's just more of Heimdall, just his personality, and the fact that he smiles. I do have to give an honorable mention to Don Cheadle as Rhodey. His chemistry with Robert Downey Jr. is just so spectacular and very genuine. The next question is the movie that best stuck with its source material, and I can't answer this question because these are all comic book based movies and I've not read any of the comic books, so I'll have to skip this question. The next question was best fight, and this is a hard one. I'm definitely not going to go with Man of Steel because of my issues with the blurriness of the fight sequences. I think I might have to go with the Wolverine. In particular, the scene, I believe, when Logan is at a funeral and some ninjas come in, and then you got like the ninja Hawkeye. There's just a lot of chaos. The staging of that fight was very well done, very easy to follow. I didn't get confused. And a lot of superhero movies, I kind of get lost with where the fight is going. And the fight sequence in the Wolverine at the funeral, I think, was very well done and just really cool and like, wow, that's awesome. It's really great moves and stuff. The next question, best music. Oh lord, Thor? Once again, I don't know what it is. I really love the music in Thor 1, and I think the music in Thor 2 is just as powerful and amazing. Especially the more slower paced music, the sad stuff, that stuff was really good. And then the next question, the best post-credits scene. I'm going to put another spoiler tag here, so mute when you see the spoiler tag pop up, and then unmute when you see it go away. But the movies I'm going to be spoiling right here for post-credits are going to be, I guess, the Wolverine, Thor 2, and Iron Man 3. So if you've not seen any of those, then you better mute. So for the Wolverine, the post-credit scene after that was Logan walking through the airport, and everything kind of pauses, and then he kind of freezes, and then, oh, here comes Magneto and Dr. X. Ooh, that was so good and so exciting, and I think just a really excellent lead up to X-Men Days of Future Past. And then the next great post-credit scene would have to be Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo as Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, like their little therapy session. That was so awesome, and it was just really funny. And then the last post-credit scene, I really enjoyed the Thor post-credit scene with Sif and Volstagg going to see the Collector, and I think that's a really brilliant lead up to Guardians of the Galaxy, which was so exciting. And then the last question that the Schmoes Know wanted answered was, what superhero movies are you looking forward to in the next year? And they specified that it doesn't have to be strictly just 2014, it could be even further than that. And you guys, are so many superhero movies coming out in 2014 and beyond that I am so excited to see. I guess one of the first ones would be Captain America Winter Soldier. I cannot wait for that. The trailers look so good. And then after that, X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm just curious what's going on in those trailers, because you got characters who are dead, who are alive, and then you got the younger versions of all these characters, and it just looks so confusing. I know it's going to be one of those movies that I'm going to be absolutely confused. I'm not going to understand anything, but I'm still going to walk out of the movie going, that was freaking awesome. And then after those two, I probably have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy. I know absolutely nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy other than the fact that there's a ass-kicking, talking raccoon. I just want to see that raccoon so bad. And then obviously, I'm very much looking forward to Thor 3 whenever that's coming out, and Avengers 2 and 3 whenever those are coming out. And then I really want to see Ant-Man. I'm excited to see how they kind of do that, especially with the graphics and visuals. So yeah, I have a ton of movies that I'm really excited to see in the next probably 10 years. The way the Marvel universe has everything mapped out, it's like I'm going to be like 50 by the time all these movies come out and they get done. So that's it for this video response to the Schmoes Know, who did a best superhero movies recap of 2013. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do you guys like comic book movies just as much as me? I'd love to hear your answers to the questions that were presented in this video. So that's it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.